Quiet people have the loudest minds. Hello, and welcome back to the Wisdom of Warhammer channel. And today, I'm going to be going over how Corax uses his introversion to his advantage. I explain some examples of introversion and how Corax used them, and you can use the tips I go over in the video to help you get ahead in your goals for this year and beyond. But before I begin, I do not own the artwork in the video, and all things Warhammer owned by Games Workshop and Black Library, and all articles and studies that I have used are going to be linked in the description. But with the intro out of the way, let's get the video started, shall we? Introversion is defined as the tendency to be focused predominantly on internal thoughts and feelings rather than external things and social interaction. Now, there are Primarchs that are more introverted than others, but Corax is the most introverted out of them all, and I will explain why. There are times during the heresy where he spends time by himself and contemplates things, which introverts tend to do a lot. He also doesn't speak much with his people and isn't too talkative even to his brothers. He also goes off by himself, but he doesn't abandon his men. He does give them orders before he goes solo and seems to thrive by himself. These examples may seem like he doesn't care for his men and people under his command, but he does care very deeply. He is also very empathetic to his sons, subordinates, and brothers, but only some of his brothers. Another example of Corax caring for people is when the Space Wolves and Leman arrived at Deliverance. He watched over Leman while he was recovering after he fought Horus. Also, Corax is not very impulsive. He's very calm and collected, and there are times where he throws everything out the window, but 99% of the time, he is very calm and collected. Another thing that Corax does very well, but not as well as the Khan, is that he thinks outside the box, and he learned this and mastered this when he was on Lycanus fighting the Tech Lords. He thinks on the move, and when he plans an operation, he has a basic plan and tells his men to adapt to the mission and finish the mission swiftly and quickly with not a lot of casualties. Introverts tend to be in their head a bit more, as I explained in the definition of introversion, and there are good examples of Corax thinking deeply. One was when he was talking to Leman about him, his brothers, and the universe that they inhabit. Another example is when he locked himself in his chambers after he killed his mutated sons and meditated on himself and who he is and what happened. When he left and went into the Eye of Terror and hunted down his brother Lorgar, he then explained to his traitor's brother that he accepted that he and his brothers are of the warp. Corax also excels in the trait of accepting oneself because he is one of the only Primarchs to truly embrace the warp side without selling his soul to one of the Chaos Gods. I'm going to explain in detail the examples I've told above, starting off with why introverts like to spend time alone. It may seem complex to an extrovert, but I will explain in simple terms because I am an introvert, and starting off by saying introverts are sensitive to dopamine, which means if we have too much dopamine hitting us, we sort of have a hangover the next day. Sometimes when an introvert looks drained, they must have had an overstimulation of dopamine and their social battery is drained and need to be alone to be able to recharge. So if you know an introvert and they look and seem cranky, just let them be alone for a while and they will come back charged. Being alone for introverts can allow them to think about what happened and can plan ahead for the rest of the day or night. An introvert's social battery is drained very quickly when they're being empathetic, so if they're listening and caring to you or someone they know, then an hour later or the next day they are cold and distant. It is them just recovering from being empathetic, but they will recover as long as you give them space and respect their boundaries. Moving into the next thing that introverts do is that they are very good at listening, and I have noticed this about myself, is that listening well is natural to me, and many other introverts have this as well. Another big thing that introverts are not is impulsive. Yes, there are impulsive introverts out there, but they are rare. A study show that introverts are not as impulsive as extroverts due to the introverts thinking a bit more. From the skill of thinking deeper, introverts make good leaders due to this trait, even though people don't think that introverts are good leaders. When an introvert leads, they think in the long term and plan for each obstacle. Introverts are very skilled in thinking outside the box because extroverts think fast and talk fast, while introverts look for a solution in every corner of a situation or topic. Thinking outside the box allows introverts to really show their worth in a group, relationships, and business. From this, people give them credit, and doing this also gives them more opportunities in life and earns trust. The last thing that makes introverts very powerful is that they think very deeply and more often than extroverts. Introverts find out more about themselves earlier in life, and from this, they tend to think about the outside world as well, but mostly focus on the inward part of their life first. Introverts tend to meditate more because their minds are more active than extroverts, so they use meditation to keep their minds calm when thinking about a solution. Introverts are known to be deep thinkers, and some of the more well-known philosophers are introverts, and were able to think deeply about themselves and the world that they inhabit. If you are an introvert that is struggling to get your goals done and tend to fantasize about your perfect future, but you aren't putting in the plans to make it reality, here are some tips. If you're an introvert that spends a lot of time by yourself and don't really go out, but one of your goals requires you to talk to people, you need to talk to people and get to know how to communicate effectively. One thing that I do is go for a small drive and have some small talk with the cashier and or someone in line. Because if you do this 3 times a day, you'll be more comfortable and be less drained. Yes, I know introverts hate small talk, but at this point I'm used to doing it now at a point where it doesn't drain my social battery. Having small talks allows you to build a connection with someone, even though it may seem like it not. But I've started some good friendships by doing small talk. Also, whenever you need to recharge your social battery, you must do things alone that give you healthy energy and not the type of energy that drains you. The next thing that will help you is to work on your emotional health, and that means you're able to cope with positive and negative emotions. Doing this allows you to be more aware of them and be able to sit and deal with the emotions. Being emotionally healthy means that you have a healthy coping mechanism and you know when you need help from a professional. The main thing from being in a state of positive psychological functioning and handling life stresses and adapting to any emotional situation. To be emotionally healthy, you must be self-aware of what emotion you are feeling in a situation and then be empathetic to anyone in your life. The last tip to be emotionally intelligent is to regulate your emotions and think and don't allow your emotions to rule you, and use your emotions to help you with your goals. The next one is a small one, and that means don't be impulsive. And if you are impulsive, think to yourself, why am I being impulsive at this moment? Because us introverts think a lot, we are able to think outside the box easier than people who are not introverts. But because our brains are thinking like crazy, we aren't able to think of a solution most of the time. One thing that helps me find a solution quickly is to ask for more details in the situation, and that allows me to narrow things down to think outside the box and find a solution. I use quick meditation to help me think a bit better, and it allows my brain to analyze the problem even more and then find a solution, and if it doesn't work, then I repeat the process until I find a good idea. Let me tell you that from this, it allows me to show my worth even more to a group or to a person, and it surprises people a lot, but I have let this skill rust a bit, and I'm doing more meditation to help unrust it. Now, this goes into the last tip and the most important one for us introverts, and that means to check on ourselves, which means, of course, meditating on how you are feeling. Meditating assists in recharging your social battery, and from this can help assist you in social batterings, of course. It is simple to put some music on and then just sit and breathe and just try to empty your mind, and it will take time. These tips that I have talked about can help you out and help me in my life, but I will put some articles and studies in the description to assist you. Now we have gotten to the end of the video on how Corax uses introversion to his advantage, and in my next video I'll be going into the realm of chaos and learning the forbidden story of Fulcrum the Phoenician, Gene Father of the Emperor's Children, and of course, Demon Primarch of Slaanesh. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit the like button and send it to someone who would enjoy this content. And if you are new and would like to see more content, hit the subscribe button and bell notification to be notified for when a new video comes out. I thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a good day. This is Wisdom of Warhammer, signing off.